Hey guys, happy Saturday. I have actually been meaning to jump on all week, and I just have been slammed with stuff with school and work and family, but I wanted to make sure I got on this morning, and I wanted to share this with you because a habit that I've gotten into over the past 3 years is reading personal development. And to be honest, I never read in high school or college. I actually hated it, found it very boring, and would fall asleep on page 2 every time I ever tried to pick up a book. But I started creating this habit a few years ago by just saying I'm reading 10 pages a day, and that was it. And I've stuck with it. Some days I do read more, but some days I don't get to it. But it's very, very rare that I don't get to it because I've actually made it part of my morning routine, and I find that it energizes me instead of putting me to sleep. But this book that I'm reading is called Atomic Habits, and it's awesome. I love it. I love everything about the small changes in our journeys, because I find when we focus on the big changes, it becomes way too overwhelming, at least for me. So I just wanted to read this part to you from this book because it hit home on the simplicity of the way that we can do things. And it says, your current habits are not necessarily the best way to solve the problems you face. They are just the methods you learned to use. Once you associate a solution with the problem you need to solve, you keep coming back to it. Habits are all about associations. These associations determine whether we predict a habit to be worth repeating or not. As we covered in our discussion in the first law, your brain is continually absorbing information and noticing cues in the environment. Every time you perceive a cue, your brain runs a simulation and makes a prediction about what to do in the next moment. Cue, you notice the stove is hot. Prediction, if I touch it, I'll get burned, so I should avoid touching it. Cue, you see the traffic light turn green. Prediction, if I step on the gas, I'll make it safely through the intersection and get closer to my destination should I step on the gas. You see a cue, categorize it based on past experience, and determine the appropriate response. This all happens in an instant, but it plays a crucial role in your habits because every action is preceded by a prediction. Life feels reactive, but it's actually predictive. All day long, you are making your best guess of how to act given what you've just seen and what has worked for you in the past. You are endlessly predicting what will happen in the next moment. Our behavior is heavily dependent on these predictions. Put another way, our behavior is heavily dependent on how we interpret the events that happen to us, not necessarily the objective reality of the events themselves. Two people can look at the same cigarette and one feels the urge to smoke while the other is repulsed by the smell. The same cue can spark a good habit or a bad habit depending on your prediction. The cause of your habits is actually the prediction that precedes them. These predictions lead to feelings, which is how we typically describe a craving. A feeling, a desire, an urge. Feelings and emotions transform the cues we perceive and the prediction we make into the signal that we can apply. They help explain that we are currently sensing. For instance, whether or not you realize it, you are noticing how warm or cold you feel right now. If the temperature drops by 1 degree, you probably won't do anything. If the temperature drops 10 degrees, however, you'll feel cold and put on another layer of clothing. Feeling cold was the signal that prompted you to act. You have been sensing the cues the entire time, but it's only when you predict that you would be better off in a different state that you take action. A craving is the sense that something is missing. It is the desire to change your internal state. When the temperature falls, there is a gap between what your body is currently sensing and what it wants to be sensing. This gap between your current state and your desired state provides reason to act. Desire is the difference between where you are now and where you want to be in the future. Even the tiniest action is tinged with the motivation to feel differently than you do in the moment. When you binge eat or light up or browse social media, what you really want is not a potato chip or a cigarette or a bunch of likes. What you really want is to feel different. Our feelings and emotions tell us whether to hold steady in our current state or to make a change. They help us decide the best course of action. Neurologists have discovered that when emotions and feelings are impaired, we actually lose the ability to make decisions. We have no signal of what to pursue and what to avoid. As the neuroscientist Antonio Damasio explains, it is the emotion that allows you to mark things as good, bad, or indifferent. To summarize, the specific cravings you feel and habits you perform are really an attempt to address your fundamental underlying motives. Whenever a habit successfully addresses a motive, you develop a craving to do it again. In time, you learn to predict that checking social media will help you feel loved or that watching YouTube will allow you to forget your fears. Habits are attractive when you associate them with positive feelings, and we can use this insight to our advantage rather than to our deterrent. So think about some of the habits that you've created that you might be using and thinking about changing right now. How to reprogram your brain to enjoy your hard habits. You can make hard habits more attractive if you can learn to associate them with a positive experience. Sometimes all you need is a slight mindset shift. For instance, we often talk about everything we have to do in a given day. You have to wake up early for work, you have to make another sales call for your business, you have to cook dinner for your family. Now imagine changing just one word. You don't have to, you get to. You get to wake up early for work. You get to make another sales call for your business. You get to cook dinner for your family. By simply changing one word, you shift the way you view each event. Your transition from seeing these behaviors as burdens and then turns them into opportunities. The key point is that both versions of reality are true. You have to do those things, and you also get to do them. We can find evidence for whatever mindset we choose. I once heard a story about a man who uses a wheelchair. When asked if it was difficult being confined, he responded, "I'm not confined to my wheelchair. I'm liberated by it. If it wasn't for my wheelchair, I would be bedbound and never able to leave my house." This shift in perspective completely transformed how he lived each day. Reframing your habits to highlight their benefits rather than their drawbacks is a fast and lightweight way to reprogram your mind and make a habit seem more attractive. Exercise. Many people associate exercise with being a challenging task that drains energy and wears you down. You can just as easily view it as a way to develop skills and build up. Instead of telling yourself, "I need to go on a run in the morning," say, "It's time to build endurance and get fast." Finances. Saving money is often associated with sacrifice. However, you can associate with freedom rather than limitation if you realize one simple truth. Living below your current means increases your future means. The money you save this month increases your purchases power for next month. Meditation. Anyone who has tried meditation for more than 3 seconds knows how frustrating it can be when the next distraction inevitably pops up into your head. You can transform frustration into delight when you realize that each interruption gives you a chance to practice returning to your breath. Distraction is a good thing because you need distraction to practice meditation. So I wanted to just share that with you guys because I think that technique for me has enabled me to move forward on a lot of my goals, not just my health and fitness goals, my financial goals, my relationship goals, my organizational goals, my time management goals, was with that simple shift and starting very small. And I continue that on, and I think I will for the rest of my journey. So I'd love to hear from you, love to hear your thoughts, and I hope that you have an awesome day.